All right. I think it's all working. I'm just looking to see if we're all good. I'm going to turn on some music. Um, there we go. I'll have that, and then I'll come put that there. Save. All right. Excuse me. Yeah, so I think I can actually just have this one up too. Because, yeah, it's kind of already here. Yeah. Excuse me. We'll turn that. And confirm if we're good here. I'm going to listen to it on my phone. Excuse me. Do, 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 do. I'm trying to click on view channel. Here we go. Okay, I can go a bit louder. Okay, I also think I need a better mic, so hold on. Alright, let's try that to see if it's better. I think it is. Just listening to it. Okay. So, welcome if you're watching this in the past, or in the future. So, I'm going to be working on a school project. This is for my senior project. Just kind of documenting kind of stuff. We don't have to do too much. It's mostly done already. But I wanted to kind of just work on it and have kind of a live stream as well. So one thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to turn down the music a little bit, which means I probably have to turn it up here. So there we go. Just so it's in the background. So Yeah, so we are literally just going to go through and start documenting everything. And that means like what the code is and how it does, and then we're also going to add a kind of a way to how do you add stuff, because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of systems. One thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to remove anything that says pop OS, because it isn't really part of the program. It's just because I have a backup system, and I probably should remove it. Honestly, it's not that good. I should just have my computers be separated and only have it kind of through a version control system. So yeah, so I'm gonna actually get rid of all these, and I'm gonna start documenting things, because the thing is, it works. It's not the greatest. I'll have to go through. I have a sheet here that allows me to go through and kind of talk about what I need to work on, because this is also a team project, so kind of communicating what we need to do. I also need this to be kind of on the top window, so I'll do that, and I'll still minimize it, and then okay, so I can still minimize it. It just, whenever I'm not clicking away from it, it'll stay up. Yeah, so here we go. Here we go. Documentation. I don't think anyone's actually worked on this, but we still got a little under. We still got a week to work on this, so we should be good. Yeah. So we're gonna see. Can I make this a bit smaller? Okay, it's essentially as small as I can make it, which means, can I like do something like this? Yeah. And then, ooh, okay. Yeah, so this is kind of allows me to kind of dual wield it, which means I really don't need this to be on top anymore. So there we go. Okay. Let's get started. So obviously I'm going to go to main, because main is kind of where everything is, and I'm also going to go through anytime I see a warning or stuff like that. I'm going to get rid of it, because a lot of the times, like, you see these warnings on the top right, and so we can go ahead and get rid of it. One thing that I want to kind of get rid of or add is kind of it's KDoc, because it's Kotlin, but it's just Java doc in another form. That's kind of what a lot of these are. So I wonder if there's a way to generate kind of a KDoc. Okay, cool. There is not. Okay, KDoc or IntelliJ documentation generator. Here we go, generate documentation. Oh, this is an AI thing. Ooh. Which I'm assuming it still work. Which I just don't have AI enabled, because I don't need it. See, I don't want to. So whatever. I'll also minimize that, because yeah, whatever. So one thing I know is that this is really not needed anymore. This is needed, but the loading of the assets is not needed. So I'm kind of tempted. Let's get a couple things straight. Let's get KDoc down. So it's got different Java docs, but I don't want. Let me kind of copy how, because the whole point of this project is that it's kind of an additional layer to it's kind of an additional layer to another project, and so I want to see how they do it, and I'm going to copy it. So they have a copyright, and they have some stuff. Which, meh. Is there a license to this? I don't think there's a license to this. I don't think... I don't know. I'm not going to add a copyright one because it doesn't really make sense. But I will do something like this. Because this is part of KSL animation, right? Yep. I do like doing this one because it does help with kind of formatting it. How would I want to do this? I think I'm going to do it to whoever has contributed, so like a get blame kind of, and I'll look through and see if there's like what the names are. Obviously this is all me, so I'll put that there. Main entry point for the KSL animation tool, and then loads assets such as UI, images, and fonts. One thing I need to do is I need to get a better font because one of the bugs, which I don't think I've actually put here, is text font is too pixelated. So we need to find a way to render those kind of without pixelation. Create base screen classes for easy UI management. Some simple stuff. So I think this is how we're going to kind of do it. And then we have an at date, right? No. What do we have? Okay, so that's that. And then we'll just do a last updated for 18/2025. And so like I don't think, so this allows us to static class to load and store assets to be used within the program. And so that what happens is now, yeah. And so one thing I see is that we're using a static resource. So do we even need something like this? So using static resource GDX. I'm going to look at this because this is, you know, how do I use the asset manager? Okay. Okay. Cool. Kind of just passing it around. So it's a similar thing. I just want to know what to do here because it's saying it's like, oh, it's a static resource. Not that. Let me just say lib GDX asset manager. Kind of a way to see how this works. Yeah, okay, so we have loading. And we have the update, which would load the assets. Which it shouldn't have. It doesn't have like a way of handling it, essentially. You can have a loader specifically. So I don't think we're going to have much, or we don't have much really to fix here. One thing I can see is because UI PNGs and assets, that means we don't need to load them, essentially. So one thing I'm interested in is we can kind of... Well, we still need asset manager. So like it would be something like that. But because it's a static, because it's in assets, can we just like, can we call it like this? Or is it like, is this a function? No. And there's probably a way to do it specifically in KTX. So let me actually go there, libktx. There we go. And scroll down to assets, KTX assets. There we go. Here we go. So we can just literally do load. Asynchronously. Okay, disposable pool, which I don't need much. So these are files, but I need textures. Which this one, so something like this could work. Or it could be something like this. Which means it would be more like this. Thing is, it needs the asset manager, which is why I'm confused. It's like, why is it saying? Because like I'm looking at this and it looks like it has the same sort of thing here. And here's UI. Assets are listed using asset. So immediately when the object is created. Which is kind of neat, but like I don't think that's what we need. And then libgdx utils, which does not exist anymore apparently. So, ooh. Don't make your asset manager or any other resource like texture static unless you properly manage them. So because the life cycle is not the same as that life cycle of the application. And that's, yeah. That's what that's what I was thinking. One thing we could do is we can kind of combine that with the main. So we don't have a specific thing here, but we have it as a companion object. that allows main to be rendered. So I kind of want to UI Atlas, and I'll call this a texture because the Atlas is a texture, and then it also could just be that it's literally like, hey, you're using it as a static resource, don't do that, which I guess one thing, I'm just trying to think of the best way. So what we could do here is we could have a asset loader, private val asset manager, boom, and then this can get passed to different screens. So like in this one, we just made it public, or I guess it doesn't have public, and so and in fact, this would really be here. The only thing that I would want to hear is the const. And then this could be more of a utils thing. Atlas, which is a texture, which means we don't need any of this, but we do need private const val texture size now is 64. So then, but now I can main.get UI texture region. To be fair, just get texture region. This doesn't have to be specifically for UI, but which means that we don't actually have to load that. Okay, and then bitmap font. There is a way to load. There's going to be a different way to load. So load scalable fonts libgtx. Because I don't want it to be, so how do I scale bitmap without it being pixelated? Is to pre-create a font. Necessary cookies only. Okay, so you can have TTF files. Does KTX have that? I'll go to there real quick. Because it may have that. libktx may have that. Let me just see. Yeah, free type. There we go. There it is. So here we go. Use examples. And then we need to call on create. So KTX initiate, and then that's where I'll call asset manager, and then we'll import that. And then I think we don't need anything. It says, so then we'll just need to call it here. And then we just need to specifically put import that as well. And so we'll just need to put a font. So what's a good font? I can actually look at Windows for this. So Windows and then fonts. Here we go. Here we go. And then kind of just looking, seeing what is a good UI font to use. Something that's not pixelated by default. Oh! I just realized that there was someone in the chat. Let me show timestamps. Darn. I wasn't paying attention to the chat, lol. Sorry. I thought you were dead. I'm not dead. Are you also streaming on Twitch? I don't think I am. I shouldn't be. I should just be streaming on YouTube. And then you said bye. So bye as well. That was my bad. I did not see the messages. Now I will. Now I do. But yeah. None of the fonts I'm looking at are really that good looking for UI. I mean, there's some basic fonts, so it's not like there is no fonts. I just would prefer a different one. Because a lot of these are very basic. Either basic or too not basic. Because there's Calibri, which is like the one that everyone uses. So I got the classic NES font, which is funny. That would be funny to use. Which would just be pixelated again, which is what I'm trying to avoid. Let's see. Honestly, this looks pretty good. Let me see what this specifically looks like. Yeah, that looks alright. It's kind of it's a monospace font. So, you know, we have different ways. But, because the font that this one uses, let me run this real quick. I think this is actually going to throw an error. So I can't run it. And another thing, this is initializes KTX and associated libraries. So I'm going to stop this because this isn't even going to run because there's an error right here, which is fine. Let me see if there's like a specific UI font. Okay, well, I would prefer. Okay, this is not what I wanted. I want like fonts, not font designs. Let me just go to Google Fonts real quick. Google Fonts. All right. Looking here, seeing if there's any specific ones. Get some colored fonts, which would be really funny to use. Got some Roboto Mono, which I'm not feeling like using. This one actually looks pretty good though. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, get, and then just download that, which comes in a zip file. And then I'll throw that in here. We'll add it, and then we're gonna rename this to a better name. nanito, and then nanito. So then that allows us to load it. Another thing is we could say asset manager load texture, and this one could be the UI atlas.png. And then we could call finish loading. So that way it forces it to load without, you know, this being skipped. And then we can get rid of this because we're not using it anymore. Okay. So it has a couple things because I know there are a few things that are unused. Private, yeah, and then typos, which they're not typos. They're just not. They're not spelled the ways they're used to. So I know that's going to change a few things. So let's document this class as well. Main entry point for the KSL animation tool. Let me see if there's a good here we go. At author Alex Presser. I think we already have an author at the beginning, so we really don't need to. Asset manager to load current assets and manage life cycles. Camera to control UI sizing and positioning. And then this allows add param texture. I'm assuming we don't need that. Texture to source texture to get region of. And then do I need that or do, yeah, I don't need that, never mind. At param x position of the region, y position of the region, at param width of the region defaults to 1 unit. Gets the region of a texture provided. Uses 64 pixels as 1 unit of texture space. Mainly is used by the UI atlas texture to get specific regions for UI elements. And then we have height. Height of the region. So like if we go here, And then returns region defined parameters. There we go, and it looks all good. And it's obviously never used now, but starting width of the window, starting height of the window, and then texture size of the UI textures and UI atlas. So that's all that. Okay. So we're all good here. Creates the should be just like a creates the game load game and game accessories, propane and propane accessories, creates the game and game accessories, loads assets, and sets up the UI. Load UI and fonts, load Viz UI, load KTX, set up camera and window sizes when all assets loaded, create and show screens. There we go. And then we have a resize called when the application is created. I think it's a better way. Called when the application is resized. Resizes the camera to update UI. And then we have dispose, called when application is disposed, cleans up all loaded assets in UI. Not cact, called. Here we go. Okay, so that's everything for the main. And so now I think our next thing we need to do is we need to go into the animation viewer screen, because I know there's going to be a lot of documentation here. So first things first, okay, we're all good here. So let's grab that top one. I accidentally added an extra pointer. I don't want that. So we have KSL animation viewer, animation viewer screen. So yeah. Last updated by me, and the viewer has been made by me, and then we also have Eduardo, which I'm going to pull up his name specifically because I know I want to make sure I get it right. Cool. And that should, yeah, I think that was all the names that were on this. And so this one is not the main entry point. The animation viewer screen controls the UI related to the animation viewer. Play/pauses animations. Controls the speed of the animations. Yeah. Resets the animation. There we go. So yeah, and then now we can add our animation. The UI associated with the animation viewer controls playing/pausing, speed changing, and resetting. Yeah, and I think I need 2 T's for resetting. So there we go. And so yeah, so that is where we have all this. And so most of this is UI code, and how can we control the like the hotkeys and stuff. So good news is I know some of this, like this can just be boom, and then boom. So then boom. Yeah. So one thing I know we can do a bit better is a lot of the times we are just using public variables. Like here we're saying playing is equal to true, and I want to keep that, but there's some instances where it's a bit hairy, and so I want to be able to control kind of what is played by that. So we have our stage, which is fine. Our playback window, which is also fine. We have our file. We have our loading dialog, which I think we're good. Our viewer, and then our log, and then control press. So all that is good. So let's give those all meanings. Main UI stage for the screen. All right, and then here, floating. I don't really want this to be a floating. I kind of want this. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically place this at the bottom middle of the screen. So floating window that can control the speed, playing/pausing, and resetting of the animation. So and it has callbacks that are tied to specific functions. So yeah, and then we have the file chooser for importing specific animations. Loading window for the loading of specific animations. And one thing, I don't think we actually need this to be here. We could definitely just have this be a local variable. Oop, I'm taking a screenshot. I don't want to take a screenshot. So that's the reason. Never mind. We do need this here because it is being used in multiple places. Loading window for the loading of specific animations. The main window, the main animation, the animation scene that controls the object, the KSL objects and events. There we go. Holds all the KSL events that the animation is loading that the animation is loaded. And then determines if the control key, I'm going to kind of, that's how you do it, control key is pressed or not used for hotkeys. So like the controls you control, you know, like undoing, redoing, showing windows, hiding windows, stuff like that. So there we go. And then here we have load animation. Loads an animation from a given zip file used with the file chooser. So this is if when our file chooser is put up, it gets the setup in zip file. There could be there's a lot of error handling that I need to do here. So like if it parses incorrectly, all it does is says print invalid file, but it doesn't actually like give the user that there's an invalid file. So I might work on that as well. For right now, I'm just going to work on documentation. So I'll add that to the list of give general error messages when something happens. And there could be a system like the, you know, an error screen that pops up whenever you know, that kind of a generalized format and stuff like that. One thing I need to do is go to the bathroom. So what I'm going to do is add a scene here. So now there's nothing displayed. And I need to add some text. Text that says BRB on a break. No, we don't need that. And what I might do actually, hold on, cancel that. I'm going to delete that, remove that, add text, add that. BRB on a break. Oh yeah, sorry, I just listening to this. Center. So there we go. And then I'll just mute myself. So I'll be back. returned, so now I can goodbye text. All right. One thing is I do see that there's a warning here. Oh, it's because it's the loading and the animation's been duplicated. So yeah, part of what I did. You're gonna hear the crackling of my crackers. Hold on, let me just do this all at once so it's a bit less loud. I copied and pasted this to the builder, and so that allows. We need to have a bit more of a unified system. So what I might do is I might have like kind of a, animation scene. I can do that where we have that included here as well. Oh, come on. So we have game here. What I might do is I might import the game for the animation viewer itself. So that way we can do this. That goes in here. So then that way we can say private file game, and then here we do game.camera, so the main.camera. Well, never clear exactly, because camera is the main, so I'm going to say just application. There we go. Let's see. We never use the application. Well, because I think I will use the application somewhere here. So I'm gonna keep that as an application, even though in the init that's where it is used. Oh wait, yeah. Boom. There we go. So now it is being used everywhere else. Get rid of this as well, because we don't use that. And we'll come back to this, but right now I want to work on. Oh, so this one's no longer game; it's application. Specifically main. And then I'm probably going to import that, don't we? Import KSL animation. So then that's going to throw a fit here because we need this one to also be application main. There we go. Oh wait, because I have to, there we go, import from KSL. And one thing we could do is we can really, I feel like we can rename this real quick. Rename, this is going to be KSL animation. There we go. Hello, Aggressive Combo. So I'm currently working on a school project. It is called, like I just renamed this, the KSL animation tool. Essentially what it allows me to do is it allows you to, I don't think it's going to work. Probably should have had a demo ready. But it allows you to attach visual elements to its discrete event simulators. So, for example, the main demo we've been working on is a pharmacy queue. And so what this tool allows you to do is it allows you to add visual elements such as images, lines, and shapes and stuff to the discrete event simulator. And then KSL is that what it is called. KSL essentially outputs a different file type that allows you to, yeah, I knew that would not work, so it allows you to do it automatically without having to kind of write the code to animate all that for you. And so it's kind of a engine, like an animation engine for discrete event simulators. And so right now I'm going through it and documenting and refactoring some of the code. And going through, I have a document here going through some of the bugs that I see, and kind of, part of the project, part of the school grade is not only developing something like this, but also being able to document it and to essentially make it a full-blown project that you can pass on to another team if you need to, which I think is what's going to be happening with this. Yeah, so other than that, it's very interesting. Discrete event simulator. So yeah, so discrete event simulator is essentially it's pretty much a program that outputs an event at some timestamp. It's kind of broad of what they are specifically. So for example, I'm going to just pull up kind of what the files that we use are, and so I think this one's a pretty good example. This is kind of like a basic event file that we use. So we have at timestamp 0 we start, and then we add an object called customer, or customer type called ID1, and that joins a specific queue. And then we have a resource. Essentially, a resource is something that kind of takes in objects and does work on them. And so the good news about this tool is that we really don't have to do any of the discrete event simulation work. We just have to display those events. And so what we're given is a list of events that happens, and then we're also given kind of what objects and stuff, this is not really well formatted, but what objects and stuff exist in that simulator, and then we put all that together and make an animation out of it. If you ever, there's plenty of things like this online. Like there's Arena, which is like, I guess the most used out of all of these that has animation. We also have like Salabim, which is, it's a similar process, except that one instead of it kind of being done for you, you have to make the animation yourself. And so we're kind of in between of like doing it yourself with the file types, but still allowing you to not have to like rewrite animation code yourself. So that's kind of where we're at for this project. Thank you. Yeah, I do as well. It is for a grade, so I kind of have a stake in the matter. So usually streaming projects, I'm kind of doing anything I own. I don't really have any stakes to the matter, but hello, Mr. The Shy. Yeah. Kind of go the same. Let me finish my cracker. Hold on. No, I just dropped it. All right. So, I'm working on a animator for a animation tool for a discrete event simulator library. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to attach visual elements to different events that gets automatically animated. So, for example, we've been working on a pharmacy queue example. And so we were given like a list of events that happen, and so we need to automatically animate these events happening on the screen. I can't get it to run right now because currently I'm refactoring it, and I've refactored some stuff in the main, and I'm going ahead and also documenting these as well. So whenever I do get the chance, I will show it off. So for example here, I don't think I actually need this anymore. I remember I was able to remove it here, so like here I could say application, this and that. I know. Oh, you deleted your message. Oh, I saw it too quickly. I missed a message earlier, so I now have my eyes on both my screens. So yeah, I'm now able to get rid of this. I don't know why I had it to begin with. Maybe I had something before that didn't allow me to do that, but just going through and refactoring this makes it easier to work on. That's part of the grade, is that I was saying I see lightweight Java. This seems like a big project. So I'm using libktx, which is a Kotlin wrapper to libjdx, which is then an engine that is built on top of lightweight Java game library. So we have a few level of abstractions here, but essentially it's just a game engine that we're using to render stuff to the screen. And so it's not really it's kind of like SDL, if you know what that is. And so it's a very basic thing. Yeah, well, it uses lightweight Java game library to do most of the things it's doing. So yeah, so here, documenting here. Yeah, libgdx. So so specifically I'm using libktx, which is the Kotlin version of libgdx. It's a Kotlin wrapper, because libgdx is in Java and I'm using Kotlin because that's what our sponsor wanted us to use, because he knows Kotlin. And so yeah, so it's a bit different, but it's kind of that same pipeline essentially. So let's see, unzip. Thank you. Yeah. So unzip file, try to extract setup.json/sim.log. And so one thing I need to do here is have better error handling, because this one just prints it to the console. And so like when we package this to an actual application, then there's no way for the user to know what happened. It's just not going to load essentially. And it's also just going to be stuck on the loading screen. So we got to work on that. And then this one right here is kind of the same thing. Loads an animation from 2 strings of text loaded files. And so this is the one that allows you to I do not know cav-ex. Let me see. Is this some sort of... Okay, so it's a Wii homebrew. I'm assuming this was made in libgdx. Your favorite block game on London to Wii. Wait, is this just Minecraft? Implements beta 1. Yeah, it's just Minecraft. Alright. I guess I can look at the GitHub link real quick. Yeah. Yeah, it's a version of Minecraft on the Wii. Which is kind of cool. Written in C. Okay. I can see that now. No pun intended. It is a very cool project, though. I mean, the amount of work you have to do to get something like that running on a Wii is crazy. Yeah, there's multiplayer support, which is good, which is cool. And looking at it, I think that means that you can actually play on actual Minecraft. So is it a client, or is it a... Because obviously Minecraft is not mentioned anywhere, which makes sense because they don't want it to be a they don't want it to be an issue. But it says beta 1.7.3 multiplayer support, which is really cool. So yeah, 60 FPS on the Wii is really crazy. It just doesn't have redstone, which is understandable to not have redstone. Okay. So it does mean you can play 1.7.3. I wonder if that means you can play multiplayer. Like if there's a multiplayer server, you could play it on there. I would love to work on something like this, like something homebrew on an old console, but at this current moment, I don't have time. Yeah. It's crazy what you can do. Like if you actually try to make something like this is super. A lot of what I'm doing here has a lot of bloat to it. But if you're trying to make something that's optimized, then you're gonna make great things. Has callback to run whenever the log is loaded. Shows loading dialog, and then we have hides loading dialog. And so what this allows us to do is I didn't like how I remember writing this code. I'm like, I don't like how this was. Yeah, sharing your project case probably makes it best for it. Make it work, make it great, make it fast. Yeah, I think, especially with prototyping, you really got to do that. This said +1. Is this me and then like a different version? Oh. Oh well. Alright. Called whenever you oh, hello. I'm not going to give specific locations. If you did your research, you could probably find me. Because I think that's kind of the case for anyone at this point. From Central United States. I go to the U of A. I'm not there, but I go to the U of A. University of Arkansas, I probably should say, because U of A's. There's a lot of U of A's. And so, yeah, I'm in my last semester, and I'm trying to, this is my senior project, trying to finish this up, and then graduate, and that's it. Called whenever the screen is initially shown. Not going to dox or anything. I'm from Italy, just asking. Yeah, of course. I just know that because I also record these, I just don't, someone with an agenda could, wreak havoc. To be fair, at this point, they can already wreak havoc with what they, what information they have, so. Multiple sources of input. I would say it's just kind of one of those things to look out for. From UI and from user input. Menu bar and label bar. So, and then this is how we can add stuff to the kind of the UI at the top. File, menu, and then this one has import. By the way, keep it up. What are you going to do after graduation? I am going to be working full time. I'm going straight to industry. It's pretty much a, it's more of a kind of a get my head down in code type of role. So just get, experience, get money. That type of stuff. I'm very tempted. I don't know if I like doing this, especially for like the one lines, because most of these are just one lines. I don't know if that looks any better. It is Kotlin Empathy Monster. yeah, it's one of the requirements for the project for the senior project. Because the person who asked for the project required it to be in Kotlin, so he could work on it after we're done with it, or at least so he can understand what it's about. One thing I might do, the only thing that this has is the toggle, because the builder has a bunch of windows, but this one only has a playback window. But I might do it to where it has a window itself. All my classes are in Java and C++. Yeah, it's just because Kotlin's a new language, and so, especially when you have decades upon decades of resources. I don't know how good it can be where you live, but if you can, work with multiple clients, making jobs for different companies at the same time. I was about to say, freelancing, I always thought about freelancing, but right now, I have an internship at a company, and, after graduation, I go full-time at that company, and they're paying me a good amount of money, especially for where I live. It's a pretty good amount of money. So I'm definitely not, I definitely would love to do freelancing, but right now I'm kind of just it's more of I want to have a smaller role so I can gain experience and gain that kind of confidence for my career, and then build up into something, later on, because I'm still quite young. Like, I'm 21, so I'm still very much able to do whatever I would, want to do. So I do toggle grid lines and station rendering. If I can spell that right. Yeah, I would just. It's very much I'm going to actually move this to its own menu. So this one would be more of how long ago you started learning how to write code? I actually started when I was 10 or 11, so this has been about 10 years. Yeah, it's been about 10 years since I started learning how to code. I think most of it has been documented, because I know since this channel has been created since 2017, so there's at least, what is that, how many, 8 years there? So and it started around April, so we have about 8 years of this channel. And then, starting at 10 and 11, that puts me at either 2014 or 2015 when I started. Oh no, yeah, it's definitely more of a case of getting that industry experience. So window menu. So one thing I think that helps is, 10 years, that's crazy. I've only been programming. Yeah, it's very much, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it's as soon as because I started out in game development, but as soon as I started coding, it was back, I was starting in Game Maker when I started coding. Like, not even Game Maker 2, it was like Game Maker 1.3 or 1.4. Like right before the Game Maker got the update, like version 1 got the update, and then before Game Maker 2 existed. And that's how I learned how to program. And then I moved on to processing in Java, and then I moved on to JavaScript, and then now I'm a front-end dev by trade. So very much a very fun journey, might I add. It's very fun because you get a lot of experience in a lot of fields. Making a game in Love 2D, yeah, you're making in Lua, and so did you come from Roblox development? Because I know a lot of people, that's kind of how they get their journeys, is they start with Roblox or Minecraft modding. I know a lot of people who did it with either of those two, because you play Roblox and Minecraft, and you hear that you can make this type of stuff yourself, and it gets people excited. Also, I forgot about this toggle ID rendering. No Roblox for me. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's still, I don't, it's just a yes from using Lua. So I'm 19, 7 years in, now freelancing for 3, working 5 hours a day, monthly. Yeah, I know a few people who do that, and they are very much in a very solid boat. simple 2D side scroller in pixel art. I was about to say that's good if you can get freelance to work. I honestly think that's probably the best way to go. What's this yelling? Oh, because it's duplicate. It's whatever. That's fine. Dialogue. About to say, how far are you in that side scroller? Like, what's the scope of it, if you mind? Add all needed elements. So where did I have the file loader? Here it is. So I'm going to make that here. Yeah. And then, so this one should be all documented. And then this one is when called when the screen needs to render, renders UI and the animation viewer. I say you should try maybe securing the job offer you already have and seeing how, so model after Chrome Dino, infinite scroll where you just jump and see how far you go. Yeah, thanks, Mr. The Shy. So yeah, it's a pretty cool infinite runner. But to say, love 2D. I haven't used it much, but learning a lot about Box 2D. I've used a bit of Box 2D. I haven't used a lot of Love 2D though. Thanks, Mr. The Shy. Yeah, so I should have a job offer after graduation. I say I should. I do have a job offer, but I just don't know where I'm going to be specifically placed within the company because you have the intern pool where I'm currently at, and they kind of just pluck you into wherever they need you. So it's not going to be like the same place you're located at. Called whenever the key is pressed. Mostly used for. Did I say exit? I don't know. Okay, so I do have it to where it exits when you press escape, which I don't really like, so I'm going to remove that. Oh, my drink is making a sizzling noise. That was weird. Love 2D is built on top of Box 2D. Yeah, so that's why I haven't used a lot of Love 2D. But I've used a Box 2D for JavaScript. And then, because I started off with Box 2D, and then I went to Matter.js because that was like the better one for JavaScript. Because Box 2D was kind of just a wrapper, and JavaScript wrappers really don't. What do you think about Cursor? Root code. I think for like that AI type of stuff, because Cursor is kind of a more involved process. It honestly doesn't work as well when you get to something that hasn't been done before. So like, for example, if you're doing a simple CRUD application where you're just like it's essentially just a front end to a database, I think it works well, especially if you give it the good enough instructions. Yeah, you like Ada and critical systems development. I really like front end development, and so that's what I'm going to be working on. Either front end or back end web development, because I have experience in both. So I don't know what they're going to place me in. But going back to the Cursor, I think if for example, I don't think it would work well with this project, mostly because I could get the UI right, but then once you get you have to do more than that, and especially since most of the project isn't just UI based, it will definitely. I was about to say Kotlin or Go would definitely be good for backend. I'm used to an all JavaScript framework, honestly, but in Java, I'm used to Java for the backend as well. With Spring Boot, and so because Kotlin is just an extension of Java, pretty much, it should be I don't know if there's a Kotlin Spring Boot specifically. I haven't looked into that. Call whenever the key is released. I forgot to finish that. Mostly used for high key control. Dino is freaking. Is it Dino or Dino? Because I use Dino as well. I think Dino is D-E-N-O. Because you switch the letters of Node to the other way. Okay, you're mentioning Dino. Yeah, I love Dino. I use that for my my website actually. I host my own. I self-host, and I use Dino as the backend for that. It doesn't have much functionality right now, but I specifically wanted it to have a backend so I can give it functionality whenever I want to add something cool. And I think right now it's just kind of been grinding school and finishing that out, and then I can really go in and finish the rest of the projects that I want to play back. Yeah, I agree. Well, making backend is really so much context. Yeah, for project. What were you? Good. Let's say I assume you're doing well. I mean, you got the freelance going, so a lot of the project I'm working on is pretty much front end based. There's no database and there's no internet connection really, so there wouldn't really need to be a reason for any of like a back end. More school projects, especially since it's my last semester. It's just kind of finishing up everything. Toggle lines, and toggle ID rendering, and then that's should be everything really documented here. One thing I want to do, let me add this to my little allow background color to be changed. That's going to be like a settings menu, which I haven't added. So that would be a function or a functionality thing, which I can also add that settings menu. I'll put that in question marks because that may not be a thing that we need immediately. Especially because you can just add images for background, so you don't need a specific color. So yeah, one thing I kind of want to do is I don't know if I want this specifically in the scene. Your channel popped up randomly on my feed. I like watching live coding. Yeah, I've had this channel around for a while, but it's taken a very big nosedive into activity because most of it has been lack of passion. It's very hard, especially nowadays with YouTube creation. You really have to either play the algorithm or make videos like top quality, and I don't have the time nor the the want to do it anymore. And if you look back at my videos, they're very lower quality, and so I just don't. And I never want to go. I don't want to make lower quality videos constantly. It makes me feel bad. I do like live streaming though. I do a lot of live streaming. I haven't done it recently because I've been busy, but I do a lot. I think we're almost at the point to where I'm doing more live streaming than I ever did video making. Although I will say I have done the Advent of Code stuff, which it's easier to make that type of that stuff because you're doing it live and it's like a pseudo live thing. What I might do is I might just put this in the animation scene, because a lot of it is the same thing where you need to a lot of it is kind of the same functionality here between the builder and the viewer. So I might just put that there. And it's already documented, so I don't even have to worry about it. Because load animation setup is here, and so this one, yoink. It's kind of, it really, it's like it doesn't have a reason to be in these channels more than it does anything else. And this is where the callback can actually be. One thing I like about Kotlin is cross-platform. Yeah, I was about to say. I do like, there are some aspects I don't like about it, because, you know, it has to stick to the JVM, and so a lot of its structure can't go too far away, and so boilerplate is somewhat there, but they really try to reduce it. It's just that kind of that in between reduced and not reduced. Boilerplate kind of, you know, it's a transition you have to get used to, essentially. Well, I might do. I might have that, and then I could say, because is animation a thing here? No. No, it uses the JVM, which is why, yeah, it's kind of like, it's like Scala and like JVM and Java. They all use the or Java, Kotlin, and Scala use the JVM as kind of their as their way to compile code into bytecode, and then that runs bytecode. So, like I said, that's why it's close to Java, because it's using the JVM, which is the Java virtual machine. Well, what I might do, I might just save this. I might not put that there now. I might just document and then work on that a bit later, because I think one thing is that takes a little bit more stuff. Not to misspell that. And so right now I'm just trying to document. So yeah, so animation viewer screen has been documented. Make sure everything. There are some slight warnings I see. I think it's just because of duplicate code, which is why I do want to fix that, but it's not like a major priority right now. So then playback window is the one I also want to do, because I know there's a bit, part of this has the, this is where I need to get the UI changes, and so what we can do is KSL animation tool dot get texture reason, and so here actually what we can do, I know this one's going to require us to use the init here, so what we do is we say, and this one's also going to require the application. It is super clean, I do agree. Not application, KSL animation tool, and then we can put if that's the case, then we really don't, hold on, we really don't need a companion object at that point if we're doing it that style. It's just that you can't make a const, which is what I don't really like. And so I don't think we actually need this to be, because that could just be private. But then it throws that error because it's saying it shouldn't be doing that, which it's saying that like it doesn't like how it is that. So I might and then starting height, which I actually got to go down here and replace it with. Weird. And this one's also, I'll call this UI texture size instead. Okay. So does that change? Okay, it means that we just have to put application here as well. And then all the callbacks essentially. So we should be good here. And we're going to actually say private val application, which application, so we do play texture, or we'll have to do something like val UI text UI atlas is equal to application.assetManager.load, and then this will be a texture, and then we load UI atlas. Let's spell that right, PNG. And then we import it, and then now we can say play texture is equal to application.getTexture region. I think it was 0, 0. And this one, oh, because this is like, well, that asset. And then I'll do the same thing, but for the pause texture, except that's 1, 0. And one thing, we don't need that for anything else. We can actually remove these and make these this. Yeah, so it's more of a, I wish I can run it right now, but it's more of a GUI. It's a GUI application than it is anything else. It's a what you see is what you get editor. And so let me say load image or UI texture, load UI textures. What you see is what you get, yeah. A WYSIWYG editor. And one thing we can do is we can get rid of all this because we don't need that. In fact, it says we don't need application anywhere else, which I am close to saying that's right. One thing I do want to do though is I kind of implemented these windows differently, and so I want to kind of have that similar vibe, but at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, I don't. I've used AI in the past. I will say that, but it's the reason why I don't use it is because I'm at the point where it's not going to be helpful to me. Yeah, I do agree. It's definitely getting to the point of, vibe coding is definitely a problem. I wouldn't call it like too bad. It's not like a problem to the point of it, a concerning problem, but it is a concerning trend of people more accepting to vibe coding or all that sort of stuff. I also don't want to be super elitist about it because it's not like it really depends on how you use it, because I can definitely see AI being useful for example, if you're literally just making like a UI and you already have everything defined, essentially, it does save a lot of time there. If you're a pro, you can just make good use of it. But I'd say when you're learning, I think it's a terrible idea if you're learning specifics, because it makes it to where you generate the code, but you have no idea what the code does. And so if there's a bug that AI can't either detect or fix, then you're just SOL. So I do agree there. And so I'll put this here. One thing, because this is where the builder screen, this is kind of where I had, where was it? I had it to where we have like, I had spacing. I'm trying to find where it is. Is this it? Yeah, here it is. So window table. So thing is, I don't really need that. I could do it something like that because I want the playback window to be at the bottom of the screen. Right now, I'm not going to do that because I'm just. Let me see what errors there even are. Let me run this again. So I kind of want to do. Let me see what errors there are, and then I'll fix the errors, and then we can run it. We can see what it looks like. So I know most of it has to do with what we did here, where we fix these. And so in fact, I can actually just kind of copy that here because it's going to be very, very similar. And I think, yeah, it doesn't use that anywhere else besides here. So something like this is definitely, I don't know why I said these are vars instead of vals. It's kind of weird. And then this one also requires the application KSL animation and not a comma here. Alt enter, and then we can say application get texture region, and then that can stay the same mostly. We just need to add UI Atlas. Vim mode. Yeah, I've definitely tried Vim. I just right now it's not a priority for me to learn, mostly because I don't want to have to learn two separate things. Like one thing I would, because I've tried it to where I'm like making something, like I'm making a simple web game in Vim, and I can definitely use Vim to a point. I just, it's just another learning curve, and I just haven't been able to really take that dive into it, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that should be that. So that's those, and then now I haven't added any of the applications. So application KSL animation tool. So we don't actually need the equals here. But then that means I need to go to the animation builder screen, and that's going to throw some errors. Yep. And this is no longer game, this is application. It doesn't need application. Vim plus Plick, I know, right? I've seen someone at work has that type of setup, and it's very, they carry, yeah. It's definitely, I don't know how to describe it, and it's all like, they have Linux, and it's all pretty much terminal the entire time. And I'm not doubting anything about it. It's just crazy. I agree. It is. It's very much that one's like you really got to get into it. So I'll call it, yes, application. So that's that one. And then I also, because I removed default font here, so my friend also worked on this. How did they do that? Scene.font. So they did layout. They did glyph layouts rather than which makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So like, I think I do a glyph layout as well, right? For this one? I do. So then that tells me, so I can just keep that blank for now. So rather than it kind of being here, let me see. So, okay. And then this is how you draw it, scene.font. Is there a specific way they set the font? Maybe it's just part of the scene.font. Okay. Honestly, that's not too bad. And then they make it to where, when is layout used? Yeah, okay. Gotcha. So it's just, They make it and then they say rendered ID dot set text scene dot font, and then whatever the ID is. So ID. I learned earlier on never compare only myself from yesterday. That's pretty good. That's pretty good advice. I agree as well, because it makes it easy to fall into imposter syndrome. I know that much, and so because of that, it just isn't a I wouldn't call it unhealthy, but it isn't a helpful mindset. So I think it's all done actually. It may still have bugs, but at least I think those are all the compile issues that we had from me changing that. And I think those are for the better as well. Because, formatting, it doesn't have so many things that are cross-dependent on, everything is kind of more modular. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So this is what I've been working on that you can actually see, which is... So here we go. I'll give you a little demo. So we have ourselves a little builder view. So this is where you can drag different elements. So like here's a queue that I was talking about. You can change specific bits about it. So you can change how thick a queue is, stuff like that. And so you can add different ones. We have objects, we have queues, we have stations, which allows objects to move. We have resources, which are the ones that do work on the objects, and then we have the variables, which is like display what we need to, like from the whatever the viewer itself needs to. And so one thing that we need to really work on is kind of that transition between the builder and the viewer, because I keep talking about the builder and the viewer kind of in the air, but then like this is the actual difference, is that the builder allows you to create it, and you can, let's import I have some test ones. So this one right here, so we have this test one right here. I also, let me resize this to be back to what it was. There we go. So back to what it was, and then we can also extend that to here. And so what we can do, we can save that, and we can switch to the viewer, and we can import. Import broke. So this is some of the things that I probably changed. Yeah, because the return value is null. So I changed that. So I definitely need to fix that. It's a drawing program, but like it's not really, you can draw stuff. Like, let me turn that back. So like a lot of what we like, the stuff that like kind of the basic stuff are all images. So up in the window we have an image importer, or you can access it like you click on the resource and you can click the plus button and it'll open up the image importer. And this will allow you to add specific images. So like for example, if I wanted to add a background, and I'm going to call this background. There's another bug I saw. Hold on. Image name comes from image. I don't know. And I can press update, and then so now, well, instead of resource, let me make it an object. And so objects, we need to also add an object type, which we need to say this is the background object type, and we assign it to the background image. And there's another bug. Object type name gets reset when image is imported. I haven't built anything that complicated yet. It's a lot of it is just kind of based off a similar structure. So like you see me resizing. I gotta click it. You see me resizing like you have these 9 points, and so all of this is based off one class called KSL Resizable, and so it allows you to specifically like attach that resizable property to different things, and so the object, the resource, and the variable has that, and that allows you to do stuff like, so now we have like a background image is what I was doing. And so if I were to save this, I'm going to call this stream, and I save that. Now we can switch to the viewer. So switch to viewer. Oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot import doesn't work. If we were to import that, then the image would be imported into the viewer, and then if we were to add any elements that could move, you know, stuff like that. One thing that we haven't implemented yet is the ability to kind of do those, have the building and the simulating separately, because right now we kind of have it to where you do the simulation and it kind of auto builds it for you, and then so in the builder you would like automatically attach different elements to it, and that allows you to more easily create animations. But one workflow we want to work on is having that you build the animation, and then whenever the animation or whenever the tool detects that your detects the tool doesn't have a sim file, it'll ask them to attach one. So basically just learning the language. And part of that, you know, this is something, you know, Kotlin and libgdx and KTX, we've never used it before, and part of it was because the person who requested this project, because that's how how Capstone works, is external people request projects to be done, and then you get assigned to projects, and so they wanted it to be done in Kotlin so that they could, if they needed to, they could work on it themselves. And so yeah, let me see, viewer import not working. I'll just put demo because I think that's a very specific part of the demo that's not working. So we're kind of going off what the original goal was, which is kind of documenting stuff. But part of it is that, you know, I wanted to show the stream kind of what the goals of these projects are. I think I just skipped over. It's like all this is documented, I think. Yes. And so now I'm going to steal this and put it here. And so this is the playback window. This was made by me and Eduardo. I think that was it. Is there anyone else who worked on it? Yeah. We do. It's a bit earlier on in the program. I took it, I think, sophomore year. Some people take it their junior year. I think I took it sophomore year. Digital design and computer organization, and you can go further with it, but those are the only two classes that are required for people who are on the software engineer track. So one thing I didn't really test. I'm assuming this worked because it didn't throw an error at me for when, it didn't throw an error at me for the UI texture. So I'm assuming this is how we're supposed to do it. We're supposed to load it and then use it from there. Give the Windows some default settings. Center the title. I struggle with assembly. I was about to say, we learned, what did we learn? It's the one that N64 uses MIPS. We used MIPS for our learning, and then like on my own, I've learned 6502 assembly and Intel 8080 assembly because I like making emulators as well. So it's fun to have that type of stuff. One thing I also want to do, the reason I pulled up object or add object window is I wanted it to have these. I don't know why this is fully here. I'm assuming, yeah, the import for some reason didn't work. I just realized that we need to actually explain what the playback window is up here. The playback window holds, I can spell holds, right? Goodness. Holds UI for controlling different aspects of the... I just realized my keyboard is right next to the mouse. So you just hear me typing away. For controlling different aspects of the animation viewer. I'm going to make that capitalized. And this is updated today. And let's add that Java doc, or I guess it's KDoc. Alright, thanks Empathy Monster for joining the live stream. It was very fun talking to you. Hopefully get some live streams going. And I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good day. Yeah. So yeah, see ya. I'm just gonna copy that. Kind of makes sense too. Alright. So yeah, it's have our callbacks. I don't know if there's a better way of doing it besides just like setting it, like having a set listener. But essentially, because we're only like having this instantate created once, I don't know if you're going to try the actual word, then I don't see any problem with this, especially since we know how it's going to be used. Honestly, I'm gonna for aligning buttons. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to have that be this one. I'm going to have an application dot camera dot viewport width. And what I'm going to do when it's resized, I don't think I have a resize button. Is there a way to like say override fun resize? No. And plus this wouldn't be here, this would be in a different place. There we go. Set interactions. So this looks all fine and dandy. One thing I just need, we need to figure out a way to center the window, which I think what we're going to do is we're going to have that done in the animation viewer screen. Like when we add the playback window, we need to add a, instead of adding a playback window, we're going to add a, so here we're going to add it to where we have a root, or we're going to have to say val window table is equal to this table. It's going to be kind of similar to how we did the animation builder screen. Scroll up. That would be, I don't know, where do we do that at? Problem is because of all the extra code I had to add for the demo, it's a bit weird on where everything is. So I'm going to copy that. So what this may do, I'm going to remove that because we don't need that anymore. What this may do is this may center it, which I don't particularly want, but it would it would help us essentially. So if I were to run this and switch to the animation viewer, switch to viewer. Oh, okay, hold on. It looks good here when we don't resize it, but then as soon as we try to maximize it, then it, and I know why, is because here we have set position and set width and height, which I'm not a fan of having those set automatically. So I'm going to remove those, and then this should all be fine. I don't even think we need this one, honestly. I'll do it so it has 15 padding. And then I don't know why it says that this is duplicated code. Oh, it's saying, okay, resizable is equal to false. Which makes sense. It's just a different way of, it's just saying do it a different way. So now if we switch to the viewer, okay. So it's almost right now, but it's kind of doing the default where it's going to the bottom left. In fact, we don't even need center the title, some settings, center the title, and add a close button. Which if we add a close button, that means we can turn it on and off, which I think Control P allows us to do that specifically, like on a keyboard hotkey, which I shall check, or just off screen, which it does. Okay, and then yeah, viewer controls looks like they still work. You know, we just need them centered. So what I might do the kind of the opposite, where I do window table dot add nothing and then expand X, and then we have the playback window, and then we have the window, or it expands X. So kind of like you have the playback window, and then you have two properties on either side of it that expands to as much as it can. So now if we do that, no, it doesn't. Still doesn't work quite as well. What to say? Because it's kind of similar to how this one is done, where you add a viz table, you add an element to it, in this case a playback window, and then you would want it to fill, but it doesn't fill, it doesn't center it. So all right. It's just saying, so instead of doing it like that, you just straight up, goddamn, do you really want to love me? Just do it where it says set position, and then we can do application camera dot viewport width minus playback window dot width over 2, and we're going to put these in parentheses. I will put it 20 center window at the bottom of the window. So I'll do application because we say window too many times. And then it says on resize, which we do have a resize function on this one, is we do that. So let's try running that. So this allows. So this should still center it, which it does, but it also it doesn't. I think I know why. It's because I forgot one of the important aspects is I needed to fill the rest of the table. So root.add nothing fill expand row. I needed that so it fills the rest of it without any problems. So now if I go here, switch to viewer, there we go. So now we have viewer controls and it's always in the center and we can get rid of it, bring it back, and so yeah. Okay, so that's fine. And I think that's all fine. You know, we're all fine there. So that's super helpful. And so this is all documented. I think we haven't completely documented this because we still need to toggles the state of the window with fading to open/close with fading. Adds the close button UI to the window, which adds the close button UI to the window. And then here fades out the entire window whenever. The thing is, this has action sequence, and I never used a sequence, so we can literally just replace it with whatever the action is. Fades out the entire window, makes it unaccessible. That's not how you spell accessible. How do you spell inaccessible? Hold on. Sorry, inaccessible. Makes it accessible. Fades in the entire window. So this is just basic kind of a UI library sort of thing. Is there params on play callback for when the playback window calls when it presses play? Sorry, callback for when the and then on pause. Spell and pause correctly. On speed change. Call back for when it changes the playback speed. And then we have on reset. And one thing here is that instead we have we should have a reset, like a standard reset, so we can remove that from the animation viewer. Presses reset, and then we also have reference to application. Then this is application, and so now if we look at playback window, now we should have all of these things. So yeah, and then we also need whether or not the UI shows it is playing. Why is it throwing me red? Oh, it's literally giving me grammar stuff and comments. Boo. Shows if the UI is playing/paused. Shows if the UI is open/closed. And then we have our constructor, which is fine. I think everything else is all right because we have everything else commented. So one thing I think that I forgot to add for these as well is the here. So at param application reference to the main application. I think that's what I called it here. If I scroll down to playback window, reference to the main application. Yep. And I don't think, because the screen does have that, or we just did that. Everything's commented, everything looks good. I just realized that I also added a window thing and I never confirmed if we actually got that to work. Okay, it looks like we did. I'm looking at it here. Cool. So, yeah. Hey. So we got, I'd say we got about 30 minutes left of streaming. You know, don't want to stream all day. Yeah, we're just going to keep working on this. Fun stuff. It's fun to talk to people while coding, you know. Ooh, it looks like we have a ton of stuff here where we still got that import. And so here we have the animation viewer itself. The animation viewer controls the objects and events related to animating the scene, not animation, animating the scene provided. And then we can do is we can copy that here and we can add a param for application and then reference to the main application. There we go. And then shows stations if enabled, hides them if disabled. So one thing I started here is I was like, okay, the load animation could be here, but then I was thinking that it could really be in the scene as well, because both the viewer and the builder does it. But right now I'm just needing to, like, this one doesn't need to exist anymore. This one is fine. But we would also just need to do super.reset scene as well. This one also has me and Eduardo working on it, and I think it might actually have more people. I will confirm that. Yeah, it has Jonathan working on it as well. I haven't listened to Wii Sports Resort music in a little bit. Okay, so and then we have the animation log, which I don't know. What are we using this for? Oh, it's the whole... Okay, yeah. Reference to the animation log parsed from the sim file. And then we have how many ticks run in a second, and is the animation if enabled, paused if disabled. And then we have keeps track of the current event. Keeps track of how many ticks have passed. Real world timer that gets updated by delta time. And so one thing is, like, I'm using load animation setup somewhere, but I'm not doing anything with it, which is kind of weird, you know, in my opinion. Why am I not doing anything with it? I'm a bit confused. So, and then loads animation log, which is fine, and then runs instant events. So I'm going to come back to those. Runs any events that happen on the same. Runs any events that happen on the same time as the starting time. Resets the timing and playback stuff, as well as all the elements in the scene. And then this one, the render, this is actually kind of important. Renders updates the events and renders all the objects according to the events. And this one handles event simulation, handles movements, handles rendering of objects. So kind of that's what we're at. And so yeah, and so progress time if not moved forward, or if playing, if we have moved to the next tick, simulate a tick, which I'll put that actually in here, and then if we are past the end time, we are done with the animation. Oops, sorry about that. Let me turn that back up. How about now? I just didn't want to be too loud. Hello, Just Do. We are at phone done with the animation. Right. That is better, thank you. No problem. So yeah, one thing. I think a cat wants to escape my room. So give me just one moment. Alright, I've returned. The cat was just wanting to leave my room. It's been napping here for a while. There's another cat still napping in here, but he does not want to leave. So yeah, and then this one is execute. Yeah, we got two of them, so double yay. Execute any events that are past the current tick time. So yeah, and then this is kind of just a lazy way to do find better way of handling event errors. Because if there's an error, that means something's wrong with the parsing, or not the parsing, the file itself, and I just don't do anything about it. Because right now we're in a demo. We're kind of in that demo phase where if it doesn't work, we want it to kind of silently fail. So yeah, what are you working on? I'm currently working on my senior project, which is a animation builder for a discrete event simulator. And so what that means, I'm pulling it up, I'm running it right now. And so what that means is that you are allowed to create different scenes, and so different elements of a discrete event simulator consists of queues, resources, variables, objects. Essentially, you kind of have these base objects, and then you can move them around with different events. And so what we are given, let me pull up the actual text file, is you're given essentially a list of events that happen at a specific timestamp, and then we are going to use these events and like our visual editor to animate that automatically. So it kind of helps streamline the process of creating animations based off event discrete simulators. So yeah, and so I can show a quick. I just learned that the import button is broken on the viewer. So this is the screen that actually views the animations, but then if I press import, it crashes. And so I'm not worried about that right now because I'm currently working on trying to document everything. I have a list of bugs on my other screen right here that will, it tells me what I need to work on after I get done documenting. But yeah, so it's kind of the case of trying to figure out what to do. So we're in the animation viewer right now. Update any moving objects. And so immediately skip any instant movers. Yes, I am a Firefox user. I think that's okay. That's how you spell immediately. And so if returns true, object is done moving. And so then we can remove it from remove movement list. The thing is, we don't really like most of the simulations we use don't use movement. We can add it, it's just we don't, because I don't know, we're just not part of the process. So yeah, and then so super.render renders the grid lines, and it allows us to pan. It's probably, so there's a couple things I've done. I did the lightweight Java game library tutorials. I did some web stuff, not a lot of web stuff. Yeah, I was about to say it's probably that one, because that's where I got most of my viewers, and well, used to. I don't really, because I don't do anything anymore, I don't really have that much of a viewership. So it's part of it is just render all objects. Yeah. And then here, I don't know. I'm not upset, mostly because I just don't have been subbed since 2020, which is crazy, because that was 5 years ago at this point. And maybe it's either 4 to 5 years depending on when you subbed, which is, I remember myself in 2020. That was a very different time. If that's not that, it's quite obvious, the most obvious statement in the world. But yeah, maybe a bit over 4.5 years. Yeah. What to say? You subbed before I even went into college, and then now I'm about to graduate in a month. So that's that's a passage of time. Called when the yeah, I'm not too happy myself that it was 5 years ago. Called when the viewer is disposed means of images that are stored. Let me get rid of this new space. Okay. And so all this looks like we're all good here. So yeah, one thing I think we really need to focus on is making sure that kind of all the stuff between this and the builder are kind of together, like in the scene, the animation scene, because that allows for global constants. It's not how you spell. Oh, it's how you spell constants. Global constants in the KSL animation project. Enable/disables logs in the terminal. That was all that is for. But we do need this little header file. And then so inside it, so this is utils, globals. Last updated me, and I was the only one who's updated this. So yeah, that's pretty simple, documented. And then we go to serializable classes, which, yeah, and this one is literally only parse animation JSON, parse JSON animation. Okay, so it's just a way to get back and forth. And so let me copy here. Ooh, wrong one. And so let me go. Boom. And so this is another util class. Serialize, if I could spell that. Serializable classes. A collection of classes and functions that deal with. I was early in high school. I've now graduated. Pretend I didn't wait ages to send this. So yeah, it was. I was junior in high school when 2020 when that time hit, and now I'm a senior in college. So we're kind of in similar boats. Except, well, I guess you're not in, and I don't know if you're in college or not, but yeah, at least looks like you graduated high school. Collection of classes functions that deal with serializing. I remember hearing the term serialize. I was like, wow, that's a very complicated term, and it's really just saving and loading, which, depending on what, if it's a binary or a text format, it's not that complicated. Notice we have position. Doing a sort of trade school thing Australia has. Okay. Programming there for a year. Okay. I was about to say, I'm from America, so going to university. So, although, I probably could have went to like a boot camp or a trade school if I really didn't want to go, but I had the opportunity to go. It's great for like opportunities of networking and getting like stuff like this where, working on bigger projects than just, basic, learning projects. And so, position with an X and Y component that can be serialized into JSON. Has built-in, with a dash, has built-in. One of my friends in America is doing programming in college. I got him into programming. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think programming is quite cool, if I don't say so myself. Especially, when you get to do, you have that freedom of expression, especially, and when you want to do whatever you want, you get to implement it. But yeah, that's good. I'd say it's also a really good field to get in because you have plenty of opportunities, even if you have those fear factors of AI coming over, which I honestly don't think it's coming for our jobs. I just think that CEOs are really optimistic of not having to pay people, and so that's what they want to say as built-in operator methods. So yeah, and then do I have? Oh, hold on. Let me add param x component. Yeah, you can always create and always learn a ton. I think yeah, you're very flexible with what you can do in computer science. Adds two positions together. It's getting better, but most have become a tool. Currently, yeah. I think it's kind of it's a bubble. I know they don't like calling it a bubble, but it's a very similar bubble to how like the .com bubble or the social media bubble. Like it's a very similar. You know, history repeats itself, and so it's hard to get away from that. Returns a new one. So let's say that works, right? Yeah, okay. And then I could just say subtracts, and then this one is multiplies a position with a scalar. It returns a new one. Yep. And then here we have parses a JSON string to an KSL animation. And then apparently in extension I have pauses other playing videos of I don't know. I don't have that many YouTube. I have a couple, just so, you know, obviously you can't have raw YouTube playing and it's yeah, I don't know. Part of it is you know, if you have to use extensions to better your YouTube experience, you're kind of questioning what's happening with YouTube versus a tuning. All right, and then parses an to a JSON string. And one thing, I don't know, it could be a case of we could just put this in the KSL animation. YouTube sucks, it keeps getting worse sometimes, it gets too rough. I was about to say, shorts, the thing, I do like shorts if they come from like reputable creators. Like, I don't think shorts is a problem. I think the misuse of it, and especially with YouTube kind of incentivizing the misuse of it, is the problem. Because you know, a ton of content creators do shorts, and they're very good, especially because we live in a world where you don't have time to watch hours upon hours of video anymore. Although I still do, because I always play YouTube videos in the background. But we're kind of in that world where you have like shorts are fine themselves. Yeah, that's what part of it is just, you know, it's a different mindset of creation when you're dealing with shorts than you are with long form video, and like it can become a problem. I agree. It's kind of you know, I don't know how I would describe it, but you know, because I haven't made any shorts myself. I don't make TikToks. I don't really, you know, I'm not in that content sphere, so I don't know how you would, how that would, you know, kind of the specifics about that. Long form, though, I'm a bit more involved in, and so I know more about that. All right. So I think that's everything for here, and then we have the sim, which this one has a few things to do with it. So I'm going to keep this one just so we have a template and movement functions. Yeah. We have about 5 more minutes left until I end the stream, but yeah, part of it is streaming is fun. I will admit, streaming is fun. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Justine, you just got here, but it's been 2.5 hours, and I do want to eat dinner, and I do want to have a nice, relaxing evening. It is. Yeah. It's very much. Because I think I'm going to be streaming this weekend as well. Because part of it is just finding time to do it. Because, you know, especially with I'm in my last semester, and so part of it is kind of finding time to do it while also getting your work done. I'm kind of cheating here because I'm streaming and getting my work done. So for a school project, so can't be too mad. KSL animation, and we're in the sim, and then this is going to be movement functions. So I think these are, yeah. And then this one is just like a collection of movement functions used by the movement system in the simulator. I found your chip 8. Yeah. I was about to say, I think chip 8 video, or that one, first of all, I would do so much better. I don't think, you know, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I know the UI and the coding practices probably could be a lot better. It's also made in JavaScript, which is like, it's a bit different. I still like making things in JavaScript, maybe not to that extent. I would love to make like a better, like a full like NES simulator in like C or something. I just didn't, you know, there's been so many instances of me starting it, and I just, you know, when I get to the rendering or the sound, it gets to be a bit more difficult. You know, with the chip 8, the rendering and the sound is a lot easier because all it is an XOR display and then it just beeps. So can't be too mad at that. So there we go. Looks like the other cat is getting up. Hello, kitty. In fact, I might take this time to, yeah, Chips 8. I agree that the Chip 8 is awesome. There's a lot of other like kind of virtual machines. When did I get to 110 hours on my emulator? Oh, that's not. It's hard, especially when you're doing stuff like coding. It's hard to put a time to it. Like, I've probably spent like 100 hours on this project. Probably way more than that, to be fair. But I just don't know it because I don't put a time specific, like a time tracker to it. And it's also like there's instances where I'm not coding whack a time. So I guess last I checked it was 80. So part of it is just depending on what, like I haven't typed a little bit, and like you can't. Part of this is not even like coding. I'm just documenting, which is part of programming, but I don't know. It's very hard to track time in terms of what you're doing with a project. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say instant movement ID. I was going to call these IDs. I don't really know what to call these. These are like enums, but not enums. We have ease out. I think whenever I finish this class, I will call that complete on the stream, and then I'll go get some dinner, get some food, and then probably chill out. So then we need to apply the function. So applies the specific function to the. Yeah, Australia. It is. It's Saturday. I'm assuming Saturday morning. I don't know what. I don't know exactly when that. I don't know the time change. 10 a.m. Yeah, about to say. It is currently, for me, it's 7 p.m. So it's evening time for me. Where, I don't know. It's just time difference. I haven't. I know a couple people from Australia, on Discord, but it's always like we never have to discuss time because we're just text. We're just Discord, it's just text messages, so it doesn't really, specific. Excuse me. Function ID to be used. And then we have that value to be translated. And this returns translated value according to the movement ID. Movement function ID. Yep. And then provides a cubic easin function. And the parameter is a value. Provided value to translate. And honestly, just I could just kind of copy and paste from this, except maybe not with like the stars. And then we have different ones. Provides a cubic easin out function. Translate according to the cubic ease out function. I think I misspelled that. Ease in out function. And this is according to the ease in function. There we go. Yeah, okay. And I think that's about it, honestly. So yeah, so I'm going to call that finished, and then I'm also going to call the stream finished. So it was very nice. It was very fun to stream. Lots of conversation topics. And so I'm gonna take a nice little break. If I stream tomorrow, I stream tomorrow. If I stream Sunday, I stream Sunday. It just kind of depends on what I do. Thank you, Just Doom. I hope I do good as well. It's due in the coming weeks, and we gotta do presentations on it and stuff like that. You know how it goes, being bigger projects, being a senior, stuff like that. So. But yeah, so thank you guys, whoever's still watching. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys later.